Hi everybody. I chose Zentation for the presentation software for this week. I chose it first of all because back in 2012 I took a class from MLC on dynamic classroom presentations and was really impressed with Gar Reynolds' book Presentation Zen. I would highly recommend that if you put together a lot of PowerPoint presentations, and helps you to better understand how to do that, how to better utilize them, and to get them to work with students as they uh, interact with you in the classroom. So Presentation Zen by Gar Reynolds. The Zentation software is really tying together the classroom presentations that you put together, whether with Google Slides, PowerPoint, other presentation software. I put mine together in Google Docs, so that is the upload that will be there in Zentation. And then it takes a second piece of video, whether it's Screencastify from a camera, from a phone. You can upload that to YouTube, and then as long as you're able to embed that, and it has to be a public video, then you can upload that to Zentation. Possible uses for this would be with a flipped classroom. If you're going to put together a presentation, this would be a great way to do that. It would still have your image uh, in the video, and then you would have the presentation separate. Screencastify puts your face in one of the corners, and oftentimes is covering up the screen, and Zentation would alleviate that issue as you're using that software. So I will be uploading this Screencastify to YouTube, and then joining it with the Google Slides presentation on Zentation for you. I put together a short presentation on the ISTE standards for students, and we'll just kind of run through that quickly. What will happen on Zentation is that I will be able to change the slides according to when I am speaking about that particular topic, and therefore then the students can see the slides very clearly, as well as see me as a classroom teacher. One other use of this software is to cover big presentations um, with a crowd. I also envision using it in the classrooms with collaborating for students if you're really into the presentation Zen aspect of using PowerPoints and trying to get students to be critical thinkers, and so forth. This would be a great way to do it. So while the model that I have is not going to be great, but just the presentation and getting students to discuss the standards, what they are, and how they apply to them as students is the idea of what I'm trying to do here. So I would move on to empowered learners, and I would ask students, what is an empowered learner? And notice there's very little on the slide here, and the students are going to have to give those suggestions. There's nothing up here that's going to tie students' hands and keep them from coming up with their own thoughts and sharing those as to what an empowered learner is. And then we can move on to how do they become an empowered learner, as we discuss the first part of those standards. We can then move on to the second slide, which is talking about digital citizens. And you get the idea from the image here of what a digital citizen is, using the technology that we have to learn, to grow, to be good citizens, to wisely use the technology that God has blessed us with. So what is a digital citizen, and how then do we become a good digital citizen? The third standard is knowledge constructor, and you're throwing in different thoughts here, and in the quote from Michael Capler, getting information off the internet is like taking a drink from a fire hydrant. And so the students can read this quote, they can discuss the meaning behind it, and how does that apply then to them being knowledge constructors with the information that they have. Fourthly, innovative designers. What does it mean to think outside of the box? What does it mean to think inside of the box? Why do we want to think outside of the box? What is it going to look like? What kind of solutions can I come up with? Is there more than one solution? Is the idea behind innovative designer. So having discussions with students about that. Computational thinkers, being able to work through thought processes, looking at various steps that they need to take to arrive at solutions, being able to work with those skills. Being able to be a creative communicator. On this slide, students would recognize many of the symbols used that we use today to communicate with one another. These are many electronic ones, but when do we use face-to-face communication? When do we use written communication? When do we use visual communication? When is it okay just to use a text or an email? Things like that. So how do we get the information into the hands of the audience that we need to share it with? Being creative in that respect. Lastly, we encourage the students to be global collaborators. So being able to work with others, not only necessarily within our own classrooms, within our own schools, within our communities, but how are we helping and benefiting people around the world as we work together to solve problems, to create better processes, just and collaborate together in many ways as we do that. And we can tie that all up on the last slide here by just showing the icons of what each of those standards are. Once again, reviewing, refreshing what those skills are, and then how students can use those skills to be a blessing to themselves, to the people that they're working with, communicating with, collaborating with, and in the vocations where God will place them in the future. So this presentation will then be tied together, and students can watch this. If we had a camera and we could see the discussions taking place in the classroom and a way to capture the audio, that would be a great thing to use if students happen to have missed the lecture. But I like the idea of being able to tie the two together, but especially for students who couldn't be there. So give Zentation a try. God's blessings on your night. We'll see you later.